EWTN Bookmark recently traveled to Dallas for the Catholic Marketing Network's 16th annual convention and caught up with a variety of Catholic authors and personalities familiar to our EWTN family. We hope you enjoy the following sampling of our on-location experiences at the CMN. And it is great to have you stop by here.
It's good to be with
at
you
our
here.
Bookmark booth at the Catholic Marketing Network. We have the opportunity once in a while to come by these conventions, and we have various people stopping in, and nobody better than to see an old friend of mine, Mr. Jeff Cavins.
Likewise,
Well,
good
Jeff,
to see you.
Now you're giving a talk here at one of the events tonight, right?
I am.
Okay, and is that the only reason you're here, or what else are you connected with?
I'm connected with Walking Toward Eternity, Making Choices for Today, the brand new study that my wife and I have put together that is kind of a complement to the Great Adventure Bible Studies. People have been going through the Great Adventure Bible Studies for years now and getting a good dose of Scripture and learning Scripture in the heart of the church. And what we have decided in our own lives is that we need to take some time and really focus on some basic themes that we need to build up. I mean, you can study the Bible, and that's really, really good, and we want to continue to do it. But every once in a while, you got to stop, pause, and say, I got to start applying this to my life.
Right. So let's talk about this, the Great Adventure. Now, obviously, let's go back that we've known each other for about 16 years or so, and our Great Adventure at least started together for a while when we launched Life on the Rock, which you created that show. We put that show together and hosted it for a number of years, and the show actually has continued on as you've continued on with your career. Now, I remember way back when an arm, like a thing you put on your wrist, with various little colors that somehow related to something in this. Was it directly related to the Great Adventure, or was that a precursor to it?
No, it was. In fact, it was a mnemonic device with 12 colored beads. In the Great Adventure, what we do is we show people how to read the Bible in a narrative fashion. So out of the 73 books, most people get very confused. You know, if they open up in Genesis and they go to Revelation, they quit relatively quick because they hit Leviticus and they don't know what's going on anymore. So what we did is we scrambled it up a bit. We show people how to read the Bible in a narrative chronological way. And we divide the Bible up into 12 periods, and those colored beads on the bracelet are those 12 periods. Right, and
that was really the Great Adventure.
Yes.
And you've had that out for a number of years now. That's been a bestseller, I'm assuming, right?
It has done really well, praise the Lord. We have a good team, a lot of enthusiastic DREs and bishops around the country. We're in over 5,000 parishes now with those Bible studies, and that's exciting.
Well, let me ask you with that, when you're dealing with that kind of thing like the Great Adventure, you start off with that. Was it ever put in book form? Now, I know there's DVDs. We've aired them on the network. Did they come out of, and did the DVDs come out of a series of talks you were giving? Was it the kind of thing where you're going out to parishes and doing it, and people said, gee, we should be putting this on video, and was that a Matt Pinto and Ascension Press, or how did that all come together?
Well, years ago, I did do that. I would take out the Great Adventure on the road and go to a parish, and it had a great big blank white piece of paper up in front, and I would create that whole Bible timeline chart in front of them, and they would create a small one at their desk, and then we would go through the story together so that they would get it. And one day, Matt Pinto, who you know, he came to one of these and he sat in the back and his mind just started clicking. He said, you know what, we could do this.
Matt's got a lot of good ideas.
He does. We could do this. We could put this in parishes all over the country. And about a decade ago, right on the heels of my ending at Life on the Rock, that's what happened. And we recorded it, and it's in its second version now. And then that's 24 weeks. And then we also have a quick journey, which is 8. Take you through the whole Bible. But then after that, Matthew, Acts, Revelation, James, Psalms. Dr. Tim Gray from the Augustine Institute helps us with that.
As well.
And then Dr. Ted Sri is doing
another friend of ours at EWTN, of course.
Doing some work with us, and we're excited about that. And then Dr. Gray and I wrote a book together, Walking with God, which kind of takes you through this whole story, not in a Bible study way, but more in a kind of a literary walk through the Bible.
Well, let me ask you, so when you did the videos and you do those presentations, before we get into Walking Toward Eternity and how that took off, what do you prefer doing? You're a host of a regular TV show, you're out there in parishes giving talks, you're in large conferences giving talks, you're making videos, you're writing books. Which is your favorite thing to do?
I would say My favorite is television. I love television, and I love communicating to people the beauty of the church, the riches of Christ, applying the truth to everyday life. I kind of imagine, my calling is I'm not a super scholar, and I'm one who likes to take the teachings of the church, and if I could, I would sit down in the middle of an average suburban parish and then look around the 15 people around me, the average story. I'd like to engage them.
Right. Now, Ascension Press is the distributor of this thing,
yes,
and they're here at the show. Obviously, I think usually part of Catholic Word,
yes,
the kind of the umbrella organization. Now, so the components that exist for the new Walking Toward Eternity are what? Videos, and then what?
In a workbook, which you're holding. It's okay. We call it a journal.
Okay. Now this one says Series 1. Is there
right.
a Series 2?
There is. Series 1 deals with what I would call topics that on this journey you need to pick up, you need to gain. Faithfulness, the love of God, prayerfulness, sacrifice, thanksgiving.
Right. Love, forgiveness.
These are the things that if somebody would put those 7 topics into practice in their life, something's going to happen in their marriage very positively and in their relationships with other people. In the second series that is coming out very, very soon, it's called Walking Toward Eternity, Engaging the Struggles of Your Heart. Those are things that on your way to God and to heaven, you need to deal with these issues. You might have to let go of them. You might have to process them. And those are things like anger and fear and envy and shame and loneliness and despair. These are the type of topics that if you were to stand up in the average church and say, how many of you are dealing with anger? People go, oh man, that's me, Would you like to do something about it?
Right.
So the approach that we're taking here is not one of you have to get rid of anger, but you have to listen to anger, and you have to ask, is this good anger or is this bad anger? Because good anger is there for a purpose. It's for you to rise up and to do something about an injustice or something that needs to be corrected. But sometimes bad anger is the result of you just having a bad day.
Well, walking towards eternity means that at the end, there's an end, but it keeps going on. So it's great to see you.
Good to see you here.
Stay in touch, and we'll see you on EWTN soon. Thanks, Jeff Cavins. Have a good show. And Maurice Prater, you've got the Holy Family Prayer Book, Prayers for Every Family. You're here at the CMN, and tell us a little bit about the Holy Family Prayer Book. Now, are you the author of this book?
I am not. The Holy Family priests are the authors of all the prayers in this prayer book, and I work for them.
And they're an order of priests then?
They're a religious order of priests, yes.
And where are they out of?
Well, they were founded in 1895 out of Holland, and they've been in the United States since 1925, and the North American provincial office is in St. Louis.
Okay. And I see this book, Prayers for Every Family, Missionaries of the Holy Family, and you've got a foreword by Cardinal Dolan from New York, right?
That is correct. And in the Spanish version, we have a foreword by Archbishop Gustavo Garcia Siller.
Okay. So you've got some top names here on this. And what's unique about this Holy Family Prayer Book? Is it just the prayers that this particular religious order has said over the years, or is something different? To explain? Okay,
well, first of all, these were prayers that were said over the years by the Holy Family priests themselves, just internally. And then there was the idea of maybe a publisher would be interested in it. And then so we submitted it to LaCort, and LaCort is the publisher of our prayer books. So it was internal. But what is unique about it is that it uses the Holy Family as the standard of holiness for all families. And then it focuses on the family today, on their struggles, but always points them to the Holy Family as the model of how to live their lives and grow in holiness.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let me ask you, Maurice, how did you get involved with the Holy Family priests in this particular outreach, the prayer book?
Okay, well, they hired me. They had a position that was...
To just work on this particular thing, communications or fundraising or what?
Both. I'm the advancement director, so I am involved in fundraising. They take a vow of poverty, so I help raise money for the order and also do their communications, and including something like this.
Now, are these the first two books they've had published, or?
This is the absolute first books.
Okay,
yes.
Whose idea was it to go in this? Was this an initiative of yours or something they knew they wanted to do and then they hired you to do?
Okay, no, it wasn't my idea. It was one of our priests who's the vocation director, Father Mario Galendo. And we were at a conference in San Antonio, the National Catholic Singles Conference. We had a vocation booth. And we brought out our little Holy Family prayer book, which was just a little pocket-sized, self-published, and put it on our table. And everybody wanted one.
Really?
Because, yeah, I mean, we couldn't give away anything else, but that is what they wanted because it was so unique. And so we thought...
And what was unique about it?
Because it was all, the whole emphasis was pointing to the Holy Family as the model of holiness.
That's what's unique about it.
That's what's unique about it, and then, drawing back to the family and their struggles today.
And the reason you decided, I mean, is you did a Spanish version at the same time because
yes.
you thought, gee, there's a Spanish market, between, or the Holy Family Fathers extend into Spanish-speaking countries, or?
Yes, we are in Spanish-speaking countries. We have provinces in Central America, and we have a lot of priests in America in the Archdiocese of San Antonio, and a lot of those parishioners where our priests or pastors speak Spanish.
Okay, and we're interested in seeing it in Spanish as well. I know,
yes.
Or the Holy Family Fathers already had it that way.
You know, actually, they also had it that way as well in-house. They had it when they were just self-publishing it. They had it in Spanish and in English.
So when they moved it from something that they were using themselves in-house to something to be marketed through LaCort, how much changes went through and who was involved with that?
Okay, well, the Holy Family priests were very much involved. They asked me to kind of revise it to have it more of a general appeal. And then when they approved it, they told me to submit it to LaCort, because LaCort is also in St. Louis. And then...
okay, so that's the connection.
That's the connection. LaCort is also in St. Louis. So they thought, well, let's just...
go to the local Catholic publisher.
Local Catholic publisher, exactly. And then when we submitted it, the acquisitions editor, Erin Cartaya, she requested additional prayers to make it more well-rounded for the family. And that's what we did.
Okay, well, great.
So there's older prayers and new prayers.
And what kind of interest have you had here at the show?
We've had a lot of interest because people, like we did at the booth at the National Single
in San Antonio.
They're like, well, this is unique. I never heard of a Holy Family prayer book. They say, well, you know, it makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, the Holy Family, shouldn't that be our model anyway?
Now, is this the kind of thing as well that a family usually does together?
Well, they should do this together. That's what we're promoting, for families to pray together. And in the foreword that was written by Archbishop Gustavo Garcia Siller, he mentions that in this year of the faith, how great it would be if families would start to pray together again. And we have a prayer, a consecration to the Holy Family. You know, it's 3 or 4 paragraphs. Wouldn't it be great if families just every day, start off slowly, just pray the consecration to the Holy Family.
Well, that sounds wonderful. Sounds like something EWTN is happy to support. The Holy Family Prayer Book, Prayers for Every Family in English and Spanish, published by LaCort. Thank you. Maurice Prater, have a good show.
Okay, thank you very much. Nice meeting you, Doug.
Thank you. Well, good to see you again, David, here at the Catholic Marketing Network.
Doug, good to be back.
And now your new book, as the Catholic Tide Continues to Turn, and it's published by Aquinas and More Publishing now, Continues to Turn, indicates that there was another book we did a couple of years ago, right?
Yes. It's hard to believe. It was 5 years ago the Tide is Turning came out. This is the sequel. It continues to tell the story of the good things happening in the church and explains why some of those attacks on the church are actually blessings, in that we are holding true to our faith. We're not giving in to the culture.
So we should be happy that the culture seems to be so upset with us on a regular basis?
Yes, because we haven't given up for the truth. We're on the right side of truth. Too many people, unfortunately, too many religious groups are on the wrong side of truth, where they just fold, they wave their white flag. We're continuing to hold to the truth, and that has happened through us through the centuries. Right now, it's hard for us to realize, but the church has been under attack time and time again, and when she's under attack, she grows.
Well, in the beginning, in the endorsements, one of them is our good friend Father George Rutler, of course, familiar to all of us on EWTN, Christ in the City. In fact, we just shot some new episodes of his wonderful series. And he dovetails in the idea of what you said, the increased volume of opposition to the church's voice, tending to shout down logic with irrational anger, is a good indication that prophetic figures, beginning with Benedict XVI, are making a difference. And he goes to say Hartline describes the scene well. That's really what you're talking about.
Yes. Yes, people are familiar with the good work you do at EWTN, and they may even be familiar with Catholic radio, but they're not aware often of the increase in vocations and devotions across the country, and specifically the world. In Africa and Asia, their biggest problem is they're running out of room in their seminaries and convents. The faith is growing leaps and bounds in many of those places. Sadly, it's only in places like Western Europe, which has sort of surrendered their foundational beliefs, where the faith is in trouble. But if we hold to the truths that were taught to us, we will continue to do well. And we should sometimes count it well that we suffer, because we're not going to the dark side. We believe in the light.
Right. Now, one of the things in one of the chapters you have here that struck me, it says, who says the Catholic Church has no political clout? That seems to be pretty prescient with what's going on today. You also talk about the church standing up for traditional marriage, again, right in the headlines of today, right? And another one is 13, which obviously relates to us in some way, the impact of Catholic media. Well, let me ask you, what is the impact?
The impact is when you see people getting angry, you know that you're touching a chord. Why do some of these entertainers lash out against the church? It's because we're reminding them of that conscience God implanted in them. It's still there.
Well, do you have another idea for another book, or can you project the next title?
Well, I'd love someday to write a book instead of the tide. We'll talk about the tsunami, but maybe we'll the tsunami of faith. So let's hope that that happens someday. But you're part of that turning tide, and we need to bolster each other and tell others that the tide is turning.
Well, the book is The Catholic Tide Continues to Turn, published by Aquinas and More Publishing. David J. Hartline, thank you for joining us here at the CMN. Have a good show.
Thank you.
And Mike LaCort, an old friend of ours here at EWTN. Thank you for stopping by CMN. Now, in the past, you've always been associated with Fatima, and you still are, but in a different way. Why don't you explain?
That's correct, yeah. Doug, I was with the World Apostolate of Fatima, which is an organization under the Pontifical Council for the Laity. Tremendous organization worldwide. And there's another tremendous organization that deals with Fatima too, which is Father Fox's Fatima Family Apostolate.
You mean the Father Fox that we all know on EWTN so well?
Know and love, yes.
It was actually up in Hansville in his last days, right?
Yeah, and he did so much work with the children and with Fatima, and as I traveled the country speaking, people would always come up to me and tell me how Father Fox took them to Fatima, Portugal, to the hotel we owned, Domus Pachis, and how it changed their lives. And even if they left the church, that's what brought them back again. And I had the pleasure of being able to speak with both Father Fox and Father Andrew Apostoli.
Another good friend of ours,
obviously.
people,
obviously, yeah. And I just had a tremendous affinity, and we clicked right away because just the two of them together, Father Fox, Father Apostoli, that's sort of like a magical, mystical moment that I remember.
Yeah, of course, we did some live, I remember at least one or two live events out of New Jersey, out of the, featuring you and Father Andrew, and of course our good friend, the late great Father Fox, who we had on this particular program multiple times, and whom Mother had a great affection for, and unfortunately has passed. Let me ask you a question. You were working in one Fatima Apostolate, now you've moved to another one. How is it different? Are the missions the same? Is the approach different? What's different about Father Fox's apostolate?
Well, when I first joined the World Apostolate of Fatima, it needed a huge uplifting. It needed a new surge. You know, it had weathered the time not too well.
Kind of like the Blue Army was basically.
It was the Blue Army, and there were things going on that needed some repair and some fixing. And some of them were just physical things, and some of them were spiritual things, and some of them were just personal, cultural kinds of things. And I really enjoyed being there. It's a great organization. But Father Fox's apostolate is under the Pontifical Council for the Family.
Really?
So
Okay.
it's much more family-oriented. Now, they don't have the same designation, but they have the blessing, and they work with and in full communion with the church.
Okay.
And this apostolate, with the passing of Father Fox, can now use a new resurgence. So for me, it's re-energizing. It's a wonderful thing for me to get into because I love to build things.
Right.
Maintaining things I enjoy, but I love to build things.
I'm wondering, because I was sitting here with Our Lady of Kazan, right?
Yes.
You were
yes.
always very
Big.
intricately involved with that.
Yes.
Are you still in any way, or is
I
there any
am.
connection with
I
Father
am.
Fox's
a lot of
today?
A lot of friends that I have still in Kazan, Russia. Kazan is a tremendous story in and of itself, in that it was a city that suffered communism and forced the poor citizens of Russia, had atheism forced upon them, and now it's such a community of Orthodox and Catholics and Muslims living and praying
Really?
in harmony together. And we had them on your show,
Sure, right.
on the show that we broadcast from the shrine. They prayed for life and peace with us in Kazan, Russia, all together, and filmed it and sent it to us, and we aired it
Right.
through your wonderful station throughout the world. And Father Andrew and I took the first pilgrimage ever to Kazan. And of course, the story about the icon of Kazan is, it's a long story, but a wonderful one. And I hope to go back on pilgrimage again and bring many people there again, because so many people came back completely enriched and spiritually recharged.
Now, Father Fox's apostolate has a location actually in Hansville, not far
It
from
does.
Mother's Shrine, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's almost it's on the same road. You just go a little
So
farther.
it's right
and
there. If you
are.
happen to be going to Mother's Shrine, you could stop by there as well. Let me ask you, what are your goals right now for that apostolate?
Well, the apostolate has a very strong base. Father Fox built a very strong base of very devout people. As a matter of fact, there's over 200 vocations to the priesthood that came out of Father
Really?
Fox's work. So it's firmly rooted. And the hope is that we can take that and just expand it.
And is using the materials of Father Fox's books and videos and audio central to what you're trying to do?
Absolutely. Father Fox was prolific. He wrote over 70 books, and most of them on Fatima. His goal was the sanctification of the family. And of course, everybody has a family, married or not. And I want to really promote the children as well, because so many people came to me, and I know so many people who have said, I wandered away from the church, but it was Fatima that brought me back.
Now, you're here at the CMN, that's where we're at.
Right.
And you have a display.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the first time Father Fox's group has been here?
It is.
Okay,
It is.
what prompted the decision to come here, and what's the goal?
Well, this is a tremendous show. Al Napleton puts it on. I've been friends with Al for years. He's had a personal conversion through the message of Fatima. We've kept in touch with that, or it's affected his life in a big way. And I just couldn't not be here. And so I just had to be here again. It's so great to come here and see you and so many other people that are really all focused on the same mission, bringing God back into our lives, back into our cultures, back into our families. And that's basically what the message of Fatima is.
Right, and if people were interested in finding out more about Father Fox's apostolate, there's a website?
There is, fatimafamily.org, fatimafamily.org, real easy. And we've got a lot of wonderful materials, both for children and adults, and we have more to come. We have more exciting stuff to come, and we're hoping to get into every classroom throughout the country without even cost to the priests. A little book on Fatima for the children that's designed for them, along with a little cartoon movie, so they can learn it at a young age and then work with materials as people get older on the way up.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Mike, for
Hey,
stopping
Doug.
by and for us finally
Pleasure
getting to
seeing
meet
you.
face to face.
Oh, it's been wonderful, Doug.
Good
Thank
luck.
you so much.
Good luck in your new venture.
Oh, thank you. And then God bless Mother Angelica and EWTN. The work that you do has helped us and so many other people and changed so many lives. I'm just so grateful.
Great, have a good show.
Thank you.